Well, a very good afternoon to you all from Watkins Glen International in Watkins Glen, New York, just on the south end of Seneca Lake in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. This is the Glen Continental on DriversEye Live, the World Racing League's, oh boy, let's do some counting, 8th event of the season as we head towards, or begin our run to the National Championship event at Circuit of the Americas here in about 6 weeks' time. My name is Brendan Kazmarek. Jordan Worth is with us on the buttons remotely, unfortunately. But we'll be guiding you through this series of qualifying sessions. Of course, in 2025, the World Racing League goes standalone qualifying for the first time. We kick it all off with Grand Touring Open, Grand Touring Under. GTO and GTU will lead us through this first 30 minutes. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back and do it again for 30 more minutes in general production qualifying, GP1 and GP2. The landscape here at Watkins Glen could not be more different than the one we left you with just a couple of weeks ago back at Burt Brothers Motor Park, Tooele, Utah. Little flat, little brown, kind of drab, if you will. Put on some excellent racing, and excited to go back now that the 2026 schedule is released. But you leave the shores of the Great Salt Lake and you head towards the shores of Seneca Lake. Natural terrain road course here, one of the great road courses in North America, one of the great anything courses in North America here. So much history through years of Formula One, decades of NASCAR racing, multiple layouts, but ultimately a spirit that is very much true to its original self, and what has quickly become a must-visit destination on the World Racing League calendar. We follow the GTU cars around, a field full of 9 Sebeco NPO1s, much the same as we left at Burt Brothers Motor Park. A handful of Stratus cars, round 3 racing, automatic racing. Heraflight is here, and as I get myself set up on timing and scoring, sort by all the right things, an announcement made recently that Random Vandals will be joining the GTU ranks come COTA, so we look forward to that. These cars will be interesting here to see how they interface with the GTO cars in this afternoon qualifying session. It feels as fall-like as it looks. This morning temperature about 36 degrees, one of the cooler mornings we've had in the World Racing League. Out setting up cameras, it was pretty calm, not much of a breeze, but cloudy throughout most of the morning here, which means it's not a whole lot of temperature in the track at the moment. These GTU cars being as light as they are, about 1,900 pounds, they do take a long time, quite a long time to generate tire temperature and pressure. So these first couple laps for those NPO1s may take a couple of minutes to start seeing representative lap times there. In GTO, for sure, however, we'd expect those cars to be pretty much right at it here after about 2 laps. And putting in the kinds of times we would expect to contend for pole position. If you're not following on live timing and scoring already, Race Monitor or redmist.racing are your options to follow along. As it appears, time is not quite active yet. He says trying to open up Race Monitor. This is a challenge in and of its own right sometimes. First lap time is from the Stratus number 58, 159.083, 7/10 clear of the round 3 racing number 1, Stratus number 59, right at 2 minutes flat. Round 3 racing number 10, 2 minutes .5. Remember, back to Burt Brothers Motor Park, race day, Sunday, I think it was in particular for the round 3 cars, just absolute nightmare. For the number 1 and the number 10. I'm sure Brian McCall down there in the pit lane be hoping things bounce back rather quickly here. New overall pole sitter time is the number 2 of Team ACP Tangerine Associates, 157.847. That is more like it. Round 3 racing, the number 70 Porsche, about a quarter of a second further back, 158.106. Then another BMW M4, now the number 74 of AOA Racing. That's the Rue Helmet sponsored car, red and white. 159.751, and then first-time winners. I can say that live now for the first time because we did not know at the time, but when we left you on Sunday at Utah, the number 119AE Victory Racing Toyota Supra was second, crossed the line second in GTO. The race winner was eventually disqualified for being overpower or I suppose underweight, depending on which way you want to look at it. And we knew pretty quickly after the race that for the first time we had an all-female lineup win a World Racing League endurance race, fully on merit, fully on pace, and that 119 to the most raucous round of applause at the podium ceremonies on Sunday afternoon, picking up the GTO class victory. Probably the victory they deserved, or at least deserved to contend for back at the Daytona Paul Revere 14-hour. But it all kind of came back around back there at Utah and right up into the top 5 in the provisional timing sheets, even after just a handful of laps here at Watkins Glen. GTR 99, nice to have them back in the BMW M4 GT4. 2 minutes, .738, a good second effort there from GTR 99, and then the second ACP Tangerine Associates BMW in P7. We've also got a handful of TLM cars here this weekend as well. Been a minute since we've seen those TLM USA entries. A pair of BMWs, 8th and 9th now, 172 from 772. There, as we get a new GTO and overall provisional pole sitter, round 3 racing. Bests their 158.1 and now puts in a 157.3. So clear of the ACP Tangerine Associates number 2 by about half a second. That ACP car, a quick in and out. My guess is they'll adjust some pressures there now that there's some temperature into the tires, get them right into the operating window, and send who I'm going to guess is Billy Johnson, though I don't know that, back out to put in another effort. It's also possible they just choose to ride with that 157.8. We'll see what they decide to do there. A good effort now from the 92 of FPRS Motorsports. That's Ford Performance Racing School with the slightly modified Ford Mustang GT4. Fits very nicely into this GTO category. 159.033, half a second clear of the 52 ACP Tangerine Associates BMW. So it's both of the ACP cars into the top 5 as things stand. And now just outside of the top 5 is the 291 of Moorhead Speedworks, Jannetta G56, that V8 powered kind of front engine, but also kind of front mid engine entry that we see on and off again here in the World Racing League. Great to see the 290 and 291 both with us this weekend. Kingpin number 11 slots into P7, so it's all change. Very dynamic up at the front end of GTO. Slide back and catch the 291 on screen, headed down the back straightaway towards the inner loop. Worth noting, while we're kind of looking at it there, if you're curious as to which configuration of apex curb we're running this weekend at the inner loop, they've taken out the very tall bolt-in curbs on the sort of front side of the apex, so the driver's leftmost side of the apex. They've taken those out, so it's now just a flat transition to concrete. And then the very large, they're not quite sausage curbs. They're like these triangle curbs that you would use in a sporting event pylon, almost, that sit in the middle portion of the concrete, and then the extra bolt-ins on the just adjacent to the Armco there. It's one of the Stratus cars, I think that's the 58, runs the inner loop, does not stop, and carries on down the hill towards turn number 6. I wonder if we're cooling things down here or if we're nursing an issue on that number 58. That is still your provisional pole sitter in GTU, by the way. 157.901. Stratus number 60 up into second. Automatic Racing 908 into third. Remember that 908 squad did win back at Burt Brothers Motor Park. Yeah, I think that 58 is not well here. And if it can't get itself to a place of safety, which I don't think it will, given that it's going to have to climb the hill headed through the toe of the boot, resets, lights go off and come back on. Can that car get motive power up the hill here, or is it going to grind to a halt somewhere near the outside of the apex of turn number 7? That seems the most likely outcome here. Anyway, remember that 908 did pick up wins back at Burt Brothers Motor Park. Before we found out that it was essentially a car fielded mostly by Stratus Racing drivers. So, kind of a Stratus win, kind of an automatic win. Interesting to see how that all kind of panned out. I would say that spiritually, we're still kind of waiting for a team to go take that fight to the Stratus Racing crew. But when you're talking about a team that's got, half a decade of experience running these NPO1s at the highest level, it does take some catching up. I think Automatic and Round 3 are pretty close there. We'll see what this weekend holds. As we get timing updated here. And we do go full course yellow, presumably to go recover that number 58 from trackside. Code 35 in use this weekend, dear viewer and listener. It is the purple flag, Jordan. Thank you for asking all of the right questions. Yeah, it is the... Should be good on timing there now. It is one of the few places we get to do this. Barber is the other one, which we visit annually in the end of February, beginning of March there, that we use Code 35. Provisions for it here at Watkins Glen International as well. And I got to be honest with you, having gone caution-free on the Saturday at Burt Brothers and very nearly caution-free on the Sunday, is a pretty good stretch for those of you who are Team No Safety Cars. Shouts in the chat if you are Team No Safety Car. I know most of DriversEye Live is here. I think it just tends to keep the gaps a little bit more intact. You get to see a little bit more of the ebb and flow of endurance racing, which is really what this is all about, over the course of 8 hours, 7 hours, as the case will be this weekend. Yeah, really excited. I think we got a couple of really good races here last year, largely because of the protection of that... of the gaps and the integrity of the race through Code 35. Right around on the pit lane speed limiter here, just about 35 miles an hour on board the 669 Rapscallion Ligier JS2R. Haven't seen a lap time from the other Rapscallion Ligier. That 669 down in 15th at the moment. There are 18 cars entered, and I can tell you both Rapscallion Ligiers are here. Haven't put the time in yet. Not a representative time either from the FPRS Motorsports number 91. This is the second, or I suppose the first of the Ford Mustangs. I did put a lap in, but not anywhere near something that would contend for pole. 6:27.008, so possibly an in and an out lap there. Should be a fairly quick recovery down at the toe of the boot. Appreciate y'all being with us through this first 30-minute qualifying session of the weekend. One more session to come at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be the general production cars GP1, GP2, 21 GP1 cars entered this weekend. GP2 is a little bit light, just 5 cars, but yeah, GP1 battle, we always say it's something of a knife fight in a phone booth, and that's exactly what we expect. Put on an absolute banger of a race back at Utah. 2 really, really good races back at Utah. Where, by the way, we saw a sweep from Blaze Racing, and a sweep that catapulted them from 3rd to 1st in the Midwest Championship that wrapped up 3 weeks ago. It really was a really quite remarkable weekend for a team that, I think by their own admission, was struggling to finish races with representative positions. They ran 2 pretty flawless races on Saturday and Sunday at their home venue. This is all the right circumstances coming together with a car that was finally ready to go and up to the task of going endurance racing. And really awesome to see that E36 have the weekend that it did. And that whole squad just absolutely overjoyed. Not just to take the 2 race wins, which were their first in the World Racing League, but also come away with that Midwest Regional Championship as we tow home the Stratus Racing NPO1. Just over halfway now at Watkins Glen International. So an opportunity perhaps here to change tires if we're going to throw another clean set at it. If you think you're done qualifying and you're just going to scrub that set in, maybe the opportunity here to put on a set of used tires and go get some practice in, change your drivers. Possible to still circulate as well. Cool the tires back down a little bit, although I don't think that's much of a concern here. And give this one more go in qualifying. Should have the green flag back in the air here momentarily. I'll tell you, the starter has the world green flag just about ready. The field heads towards the exit, or the entrance to the pit lane, exit of turn number 11. Green flag waves again. Unfortunately for the pair of TLM cars, they've taken the green flag just after they went past start-finish. So anybody that's around the turn 10 or 11 area or beyond is kind of going to lose the next 2 minutes here to a lap that isn't going to get them what they're looking for. And to be honest with you, I think given the temperatures at the moment, most of the temperature will probably have come out of the tires, which means it's probably going to take everybody just about a lap to get back to a good number or a representative number there anyway. Shared a quick exchange with David Tawati earlier on from TLM USA. TLM TBR, if you're looking on live timing, P12, number 772. Despite the similarity in number to the old 776, or 766, the old Thunder Bunny Racing car, TBR is not Thunder Bunny Racing, it's Team Baltimore Racing. One of TLM USA's customers, and includes a name you will almost certainly recognize in Jeff Altenberg. Great touring car and GT drivers of the early to mid 2000s. Jeff and Mark Bunting own Team Baltimore Racing, and working with David Tawati and the TLM USA gang to field the second BMW M4 GT4. Been a minute since we've seen the TLM folks, but good to see them back here, and yeah, let's see if they can crack into the top 10 here. 11th and 12th at the moment, and like we said, gonna need most of the rest of this lap to get up to speed. Another slow NPO1 headed out of turn 8 and up the hill towards turn number 9. It'll be the number 1 from round 3 racing. Interesting that the top 3 all did pit during that brief code 35 spell. Kingpin number 11 is the only one that's crossed the line out on track so far. Let's see if they make another go at this here. 2 cars for Kingpin this weekend as well, or there were 2 cars. 11 and 77. Wow, 11 was entered twice. I've seen the 77 this weekend, but it has not been out in qualifying. Incidentally, the 77 is not the Cargo Shorts Racing, Rob Walker Racing entry. It is what appears to be an old Thunder Bunny Racing car. It's still the black, silver, and red colored second car from Thunder Bunny Racing, now in the hands of Tyler Hoffman and the gang down at Kingpin. Paraflight NPO1 slingshots out of the inner loop. Jordan and I were just discussing earlier on as we're getting ready to get this session started. Just one of the great camera angles we do here at DriversEye Live. Get cars pointed right at the lens down there at the bottom of the hill, accelerating all the way down, and having been out at turn 5 earlier on, the very quickest GTU cars barely a lift at the top of the hill, just to kind of let the car rotate a little bit around its axis before you drop back into the camber through the middle of turn 5 and accelerating all the way down the hill. By contrast, the GTO cars on the absolute limit of adhesion as they rotate through that initial kind of bank into the corner. You're really quite grip limited coming out of the inner loop and arcing back to the apex of turn 5. And a lot of cars, I mean, you can hear it, never mind see it, protesting as they try and get the car back to the very vibrantly colored apex curve there at turn number 5. If you're not already following the World Racing League on social media, at World Racing League on Instagram, follow us on Facebook as well. Layla Kazmarek is up here in the booth, handling social media duties, taking photos as well. We have another visitor experiencing the World Racing League for the first time this weekend as well. Bo Tawny, taking in the sights, sounds, smells, experiences, personnel, Glen Dogs. I mean, there's a lot going on here this weekend. Been a good one so far, and looking forward to it. Despite the early starts and the fairly cool starts we're expecting this weekend, it is a celebration of all things fall, I think, here. And having spent a lot of the summer at Daytona and Road Atlanta sweating out your full weekend, really nice to have a little bit of crispness to the air, fall foliage, and not quite full bloom, actually. I think when we were here last year, substantially more red and gold. This weekend, quite a bit more green, but still exactly what you come to this part of the country for if you're not just here for the racing. This race moves to August next year, incidentally. New personal best from FPRS Motorsports puts the number 91, that's the second of the cars that was much further down the order earlier on, finally gets a time in and vaults up to the inside of the second row provisionally, 158.416, and immediately comes into the pit. So I think that is probably going to be the best offering for that number 91. The number 2 has not come back out, nor has the number 70 of Round 3 Racing. So it appears, unless we can get a real ripper of a lap time out of the number 11 Kingpin Racing Super here, that is likely how that one's going to finish up. Kingpin Racing gets close, but does not improve. A 158.8 last time compared to the 158.6. So close. If they can get a little bit more temp into the tires and maybe get a decent run through and out of turn 1 as they climb the hill through the S's. Bright green speed tape on the front of that Toyota Supra GT4. Patrick Wilmot entered in that car this weekend. Tyler Huffman is in that car this weekend. One other name that I cannot recall off the top of my head because I do not have a driver's list. Hops the curb at the third apex there of the inner loop, and that was one of the cars that was just really fighting for grip on the transition into turn number 5. Looks like it was a little shallow on the way in there. We'll see if that costs it any time. Accelerating down the hill towards turn number 6. A little bit of a protest there, trying to get back to the apex curb. It's not so bad at turn 6, but the road falling away, you can handle being a couple of feet off of that inside curb. Carry a little bit more speed there as well. We'll climb the hill on the exit of the toe of the boot, and we'll pick it up again here in just a moment from the our cameras at the top of the short circuit. There is what I believe is the number 52. Yes, it is. There's the number 11, bright green eye patch. Early onto the brake circuits, right to the inside of turn number 9. Early on the throttle and track it all the way out to the sky blue barriers on the exit. Maybe a quick dab of the brakes here into turn number 10. You'll want to use as much of the road as you can, but important to set yourself up back to the left here. The fact that we're continuing around is promising from a Delta perspective. Maybe just ever so slightly hesitating behind the number 52. Heads down the front straightaway and across the start-finish line. Do they improve? No, they don't. Actually, half a second off their PB and 0.3 off the lap time they just put in. I wonder here if they've gotten the best out of those 200 treadwear tires. GTR 99 comes across the line and improves the PB, but not the position. 2 minutes, .443, has them about 3 seconds off of the class-leading Porsche. Speaking of Porsches, number 557, Capstone Motorsports. You may remember the name Capstone from the GTU category at points in 2023, 2024. I believe it's the same organization moving over to a Porsche Cayman, which is not something we've seen in WRL GTO racing with any regularity in a year plus. Had the odd participants here and there, but including back at Utah. But it's just not something we get to see a lot of anymore. It's not a GT4 car, as best I can tell. but car struggled, the NPO1 anyway, struggled with a little bit of reliability. And just wonder if they're going for something that's going to get them a little bit more consistent participation, even if it's not quite as outright as quick as those Sebeco NPO1s. Into the pits, 74 from AOA, 92 from FPRS, 52 from ACP, and the 119 Supra from AE Victory Racing. My guess is that'll be day mostly done for those cars. TLM and TLM TBR go out to make another run at this. Turtle BS. Can someone explain the different classes in this series to me? Of course we can. So what you're looking at now is GTO and GTU. It's Grand Touring Open, excuse me, and Grand Touring Under. Very much using similar monikers to what IMSA had back in the day. Categorized or, let's say, it was the epitome of really what sports car racing was. They were open classes for the most part that were manufacturer-friendly. This is not quite so manufacturer-friendly, but what it's turned into is essentially a GTO class that roughly aligns with what you see in GT4 racing, FIA GT4 racing. Much of the field is full of current and previous generation GT4 cars. BMW M4 GT4s, Evos, Toyota Supra GT4s and Evos, Jannetta G56. We've seen Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sports in the past. It just aligns really nicely with that sort of performance window. They run on 200 treadwear tires. Aero is open. You do not have to run it in any sort of homologated fashion. You just declare your weight, declare your power, and any performance modifiers that you have to take. And you get that car as close to 9-to-1 as you can. Power to weight formula here in the World Racing League. GTU, similar sort of concept, but it's specifically for lightweight cars, and the cutoff is 2,400 pounds. So whatever power you can get out of 9-to-1, plus including your modifiers, which is mostly related to power and torque curves, things of that nature. Those cars generally working at say between 180 and 250 horsepower, depending on weight. As it stands this weekend, most of the cars in that class, all of the cars in that class, are Sebeco NPO1s. Those are, they were built originally for NASA, the sprint racing organization. NPO1 standing for NASA Prototype, built by Elan. Sebeco bought the intellectual property to the car, built an Evo kit for it, sent it endurance racing here in the World Racing League. They run on 200 treadwear tires as well. It is an open class, but for the most part, full of those NPO1s being run at a fairly high level. It makes for a really exciting mix of racing. NPO1s are generally quicker at most racetracks, but not everywhere. Places like Daytona, where top speed is king, because they're lighter, they don't make as much power as you get out of the GTO cars. Here, it will probably be GTU cars that win the day, but early on, expect to see the GTO cars really rip around here in the cooler temperatures especially. They get up to temp a lot more quickly than GTU cars, and it'll take a little bit, I think, for those NPO1s to match the GTO cars. We'll get to the GP cars a little bit later on this afternoon. Those are general production cars built up from road-going machines for the most part, and many, many more performance modifiers taken into account. Anything you do that makes the car quicker mechanically is likely going to cost you a weight penalty or a power penalty, and how you mix and match all that together to come up with a car that is well-suited to endurance racing. It's comfortable to drive, is fast, doesn't chew through tires. It really is kind of a chess match, and we see a lot of variety. We say it often, this is the highest profile sports car series in the world that still offers an open technical rulebook. Every other series up and down the ladder runs to homologated car entries and balance of performance. This is the top sports car, open class sports car racing series in the world. And I don't know that there's really anything that can refute that, just because so much of what is above us here in WRL, despite it being a grassroots series, is now fully homologated. So you do lose something with that, but their losses are gain here, and we do get to see some pretty cool stuff. Checker flag is in the hands of the starter here, just down from me, in the booth here to driver's left above the old Nazareth grandstands. Can't get through a day here at Watkins Glen without pointing out these were my first grandstands. First time I ever walked up and looked at a racetrack was from this very metal structure, just about 150 miles to the south of here. First car to see the checkered is, I believe, to be the number 91 FPRS Ford Mustang. And no improvements as far as we can tell. So we'll do a quick rundown here before we get to a break. Just need to refresh things here. And by things, I mean my throat, because it's very dry up here in the booth. Your provisional pole sitter in GTO, because we know this is the one that's likely not to change. We'll get to GTU here in a minute as cars complete their final flying lap. Round 3 Racing, number 70. Your current points leader in the Eastern Region Championship. And in and your provisional pole sitter there in GTO. 157.385, half a second clear of the number 2 ACP Tangerine Associates BMW M4. That margin, closer than that tomorrow, I think, when we roll off. Should be a pretty good fight right up from the outset with the class. We do expect to lead us to the green tomorrow. Given the cooler temperatures, this car should come to life pretty quickly on the front row there. Porsche alongside BMW. Then a pair of Fords. We do get an improvement right at the end from the number 92. 158.681. So 91 from 92 on row number 2. That is 16 cylinders side by side there with that pair of FPRS Motorsports Ford Mustangs. Great work from the only Ford Mustangs we have in the GTO field this weekend to go P3 and P4. Kingpin Racing, the Toyota Supra number 11, goes P5. Will start alongside the number 74 AOA Racing, BMW M4 GT4. Both of those cars in the high 1 minute 58s on row number 3. Row number 4 will be the number 52 ACP Tangerine Associates BMW. That's the second of those team cars alongside the AE Victory Racing, our most recent winner in the World Racing League, number 119 Toyota Supra on the outside of row number 4. Row number 5 will include the 291 Moorhead Speedworks Jetta G56 from the number 99 GTR 99 BMW M4 GT4. It'll be outside of row number 5. Row number 6, P11 TLM USA alongside the LML Racing number 78. That's not a car we got to mention during this session. That is a Pontiac GTO-R Prep 2 tube frame from the Grand Am days. Championship winning platform back in 2005, 2006. I think it was, at the hands of TRG and a couple of other squads. Really, Banner Racer was the other one. Really competitive car. Very, very cool, and absolutely the right place to find one of those cars with, I think it's an LS lump stuck into the front of it. That will line up P12. Capstone Motorsports, excuse me, in the Porsche Cayman, number 557, inside of row number 7, TLM TBR, Team Baltimore Racing, number 772, P14. Then PMW Motorsports, number 72, and the Rapscallion, number 669, Ligier JS2R in P16. That rounds out your GTO field. GTU, Stratus number 60 from Stratus number 58. Less than half a tenth of a second to choose between those two Stratus Racing team cars. Stratus number 59, inside of row number 2 in GTU. Remember, a split start between GTO and GTU, so they'll get their own kind of half-separate green flag. Not their own pace car, but they'll line up separately from GTO. Automatic Racing number 908 on the outside of row number 2. Then the pair of round 3 Racing Tobacco NPO1s, 1 from 10. Spoke to Carter Peace back at Utah, one of the development drivers for round 3 Racing in that NPO1. Almost certainly will have qualified that number 1 car. And then Automatic Racing number 909, P7, Heraflight Racing number 247, rounding out the field there, at least for the top half of the field, our Grand Touring classes. We will step aside here on DriverSeye Live from Watkins Glen International, south shore of Seneca Lake. 2:20 is our resumption time. So that is about about 45 minutes from now, Jordan Worth and myself step aside here in the booth and in the studio. Layla Kasmarek and our special helper Tawny this weekend have stepped away to go get some photos, and see those on the World Racing League social media at World Racing League on Instagram. You can check out the 2026 schedule there as well, which I'm sure we'll talk about over the course of the weekend. Step aside here from the commentary duties and join us at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 45 minutes from now, as we set the second half of the grid from Watkins Glen International, the Glen Continental. We'll be back here in just a little bit. See you then. Welcome back to Watkins Glen International, home of this weekend's Glen Continental. Third to last. I don't think there's a word for that. No penultimate equivalent to third from last. Anyway, 3 races to go in the 2025 World Racing League Championship season. Penultimate event for the Eastern Region Championship. But before we begin our racing action tomorrow, of course, first you must qualify. Standalone qualifying sessions carry on here in the World Racing League. Inaugural season for that. And produced some good ones over the season. This one should be another ripper. 21 cars entered in GP1. Saw 5, I think, on the list for GP2. Should be a pretty busy session as we get things going here. And we tend not to see the big rush of lap times at the beginning of the session we get in GTO and GTU. This one tends to be a little bit of a longer burn. Continental tires are really, really durable, and do tend to deliver lap times a little bit deeper into the stint, especially if your first lap, your first couple of laps aren't exactly on your marks and on pace. Let's see how this one shakes out. Leading the field, looks like we had the El Diablo number 30, the BMW E46, which is really interesting. They made their WRL, I believe their WRL debut back at Utah after years running in Western-based endurance championship, and then immediately follow that up with their first trip to Watkins Glen here, which is really cool. There it is, that Chartreuse BMW out in the distance. So not quite the first car to lead the train here, but nevertheless had a really good weekend back at Utah, of course, and hoping to duplicate that, especially their Saturday from memory was really, really good. First car to take the green flag and kick off our 30-minute qualifying session will be the number 880. It's the OLJ Racing Porsche Cayman. A bit more variety this weekend than we had back at Utah. We've got a Ford Mustang, the old Chev Stang. I think it was campaigned by Liberty Autosports, but in different hands this weekend. That's the number 96. The Chevrolet engine, Cadillac gearbox, I think, from memory, and then the Ford Mustang platform. Headed out of the pit lane. Anyway, they all set off out through turn number 1 and make the climb up to the top of the S's for the first time under some motive power here. Temperature is about the same as it's been, right in the mid-50s. A little bit of sunshine beginning to peek through the high cloud that we've had dominate the skies through most of the morning here at the south shore of Seneca Lake. Drafting reasonably important here down that climb, in that climb up through the S's and then down the back straightaway, run into the inner loop. You don't want to be too close there, though. The lines tend to vary a little bit unless you're absolutely on it. Ooh, a little wiggle out of one of the M240s there in the middle of the inner loop, probably holding up the El Diablo E46 there. Looks to the outside. Maybe spooks the AOA M2 there just a touch, and then was able to power on through. So not quite as quick a lap as it probably could have been for the El Diablo car. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier. If you can't get that ultimate lap time in within the first 2 or 3 laps on these Continental tires, they drop off just a touch and then plateau. So either you've got to be on it from the green, or you say, hey, we're just going to bring the tires in, we're going to do what we can to find some space, and then we'll get after it on laps 3, 4, 5 plus to try and set your time. And certainly the traffic playing a role there. At the bottom of the screen, headed up the hill towards turn number 9. That is the Open Throttle Racing number 63. Resplendent in silver and, I guess, fuchsia? Oh, Jordan, do we have a color on that? What are we calling that shade of pink, man? It's the Open Throttle BMW at the back of the shot here. Silver, and then, yeah, is that fuchsia? We going with fuchsia here? All right, we're going to call that fuchsia. It might be a little too pale for fuchsia, but whatever. Figure it out. Lap times come through. Your provisional pole sitter in GP1 after about 2/3 of the field. Let's say half the field. Palomar number 38 from PC Racing number 44, same as it ever was in GP1. Before we get to the first of our newcomers in that 880 OLJ Racing Porsche, came in right into the 210s on lap number 1. Marvelous Magenta is what we're going from Mike Anderson. Marvelous Magenta. I'll buy that. I still don't know. I guess, yeah, Magenta's fine. That's fine. El Diablo Motorsports, the number 48 goes to what was P4 is now P5 because fastest lap on the session now belongs to the Edge Autosports number 26. I think we've got an onboard for them. I'm going to fire that over. There's actually quite a few onboards up for this session. Get a quick refresh on that. We'll have those all up for you tomorrow. In any case, it's Edge Autosports in that 26 who's at the top of the heap, 38-44, OLJ in the 880, and then El Diablo Motorsports, the number 48. 6 through 10 is in now the number 94 from 94 Motorsports in a BMW M235 IR. Blitzkrieg Racing, the number 424, that is, I believe, an E46. Cabrix Racing, the number 145, another newcomer here. P8, Open Throttle Racing, the number 64. In P9, and then No Rags Racing, number 157. I think No Rags has run with WRL before, but not on the regular. And happy to say, representing the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, out of Fogelsville. Now P8 P10 for No Rags. Velocity Club Racing, the 41, Flying Fur, the 946. We'll round out your top dozen there before we take a quick look at GP2, where it's Palomar from Lagunatic. It's 83 from 779, and then the Open Throttle number 65 and AOA Racing number 851 rounds out your 4-car field, such as it is at the moment. We got one more car to come there, but we'll touch on that a little bit later on. Christine Foley says 63 is named Miss Piggy. 63 is Andrew Kohlfeld's old track car. That's right. We did hear about that from Mike Gorman, I think during some SCCA coverage we did last month, where he kind of said that they were getting an extra car that was donated-ish by Andrew Kohlfeld. I didn't realize that was the now the new 63. It's just weird seeing it not green, you know? And of all the colors I could have possibly expected, pink was probably not it. But it does look really good. Edge comes through again, does not improve. El Diablo comes through and does improve, however. The new provisional GP1 pole sitter that position belongs to El Diablo Motorsports by about 0.3 of a second. 2:08.787. It's the only car that has dipped into the 2:08s there in GP1. It's a really good lap from El Diablo to go top of that 20-car, or just about 20-car GP1 entry. OLJ jumps up into the 209s now and displaces Palomar. So we go El Diablo, Edge, and OLJ at the top of GP1. Palomar slides back to 4th ahead of Primetime Motorsports in the number 96. That is the Ford Mustang, looking very smart this weekend, it has to be said. So many times we've seen that car struggle for pace, struggle to be consistent, and it looked, you know, like you're just kind of slapping some ideas at it, which is not the end of the world in GP1. You can be reasonably quick with a car that's built that way, but it looks like the aero looks more intentional to that car. It looks quicker. Gotta say, it sounds a little bit louder. And it just looks more and more since the last time we saw it like a proper race car. Which, yeah, if you're going to take the fight to a field full of BMW E36s and E46s, man, that's a pretty cool way to do it. And up into the top 6. Top 7 now, because the 9.4 Motorsports M235 jumps to P5 and then slides further back. And now the Primetime Mustang goes to the pole, 2:06.613. So never mind that you've got to be on it from lap 1 or you're going to have to settle in, because lap by lap we go down into the 209s, 8, 7s, and 6s for your GP1 pole time. That is almost a full second clear of the new personal best, from El Diablo Motorsports. That is 0.9 of a second from 96 to 48. Edge Autosports now sits 3rd ahead of PC and OLJ. That rounds out your top 5. 9.4, who was briefly into the top 5, now sits 7th, despite having improved. Blaze Racing, who swept the weekend in GP1 back at Utah, sits P8. Blitzkrieg P9. Cabrix Racing in P10. No Rags, who's been a bit up and down, was at the bottom end of the top 10, now sits 11th. It is almost faster than I can keep up with here, ladies and gentlemen, from the booth up at start-finish. I said they've delivered on a few sessions this year, has this GP1, GP2 group. And I think regardless of what happens the rest of the way through the remaining 19 and a half minutes, this has already been pretty exciting stuff, all crammed into a neat little half-hour package. The only thing we need here in GP1 is I think a Chevrolet Corvette. Just really round things out rather nicely. 9-4 Motorsports, where are you, please? Briggs built number 3 has been really competitive every time we've seen it. It's been a great place for it, but unfortunately just haven't seen that car in a while. Jump on board with the Edge Autosports Garage 26. Sponsored Sentinel camera. Hello to everybody at Sentinel, and congratulations to James Candelaria, who picked up a national race win, a runoffs race win, back at Road America in Touring 1 in his T1 Chevrolet Corvette. Unfortunately, there weren't enough cars for it to be officially a national championship. I think they needed 10. They didn't quite have that in T1, but still, you run the get your way in through the Super Tour, a bunch of race wins throughout the 2025 Super Tour, and then you wrap it up with a win on the national stage up at Road America. It's really, really cool stuff, especially with everything that our friend James has been through over the last couple of years. Yeah, just tremendous work to go get that result up there. But never mind that. We've got things to handle here at Watkins Glen, where GP1 is the same as it was. I think some cooling off going down at the moment. Palomar Racing takes the GP2 provisional pole, 2:14.369 in the number 83. That is 3+ seconds clear of Laguna Tech. Almost 3 seconds clear of Laguna Tech number 779. BRZFRS GT 86. All of those things. Anyway, that car super, super quick in GP2. I wonder if that's 779 just not being up to pace. Normally we expect that car to be maybe not, lights out at the front of GP2, but certainly right up there. That's a fairly hefty margin up to the provisional pole sitting Palomar 83. Open Throttle Racing 65 and AOA Racing number 851. That Mazda MX-5 rounds out that GP2 field. A couple of personal bests from PC Racing. Does not improve position. Blitzkrieg comes through and does improve up into the top 5. So slots in between PC Racing and OLJ Racing. That's the orange number 424, one of my favorite liveries on the grid this weekend. Love an orange race car. Primetime comes through and improves again. 205.340. So we've been shaving the seconds away here. 209, 208, all the way down to a low 205 and 2 seconds clear of the El Diablo Motorsports number 48. Hello to Jay Tompkins in the chat. Distinct lack of number 24 this weekend here, Jay. Look, that distinct lack of Bruce Innovations in general. Just that triple five for you this weekend? Anyway. Good stuff at the front of GP1. Blitzkrieg comes through, does not improve. OLJ improves the lap time, a 2:08.9, but not the position. So we've got El Diablo into the pits. We've got the 41 into the pit lane. 41 is the Velocity Club Motorsports Honda Civic. You'll love to see it. As we reach the halfway point, just about the halfway point of GP1 and GP2 qualifying. Here from the Glen Continental. Racing action to come tomorrow morning, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We get our first 8-hour race of the weekend done and dusted. A little bit more than half of the total race running we've got this weekend. 7-hour finale to come on Sunday morning, bright and early. sunrise is something like 7:15 or 7:20 here, and we go racing at 8, which is a little bit of breakfast racing for us here in the WRL. But it's going to be a glorious sunrise. I mean, the rolling hills that split the Finger Lakes here in this region of New York, just tremendous. Fall colors, fall foliage on its way out as well. And looking forward to more out of this GP1 fight. The surprise of the day, that Primetime Motorsports number 96, I think, is maybe going to call it a session? Just very much parked up at the end of pit lane there. And to be honest with you, I don't think they need to go back out. 2 seconds clear of the nearest competitor in GP1 is pretty remarkable. And to ask a platform in those, well, it's at E46 in particular, from El Diablo, to go find 2 seconds in a field of cars. I mean, that El Diablo car is already a second clear of the Edge Autosports number 26. In a field that's mostly in the 208s at the moment. It feels like that's probably not going to go any other way. And that the top 2 at the very least are probably pretty safe with the laps they've put down. Palomar number 38 into the pit lane. That car's 6th at the moment. Might have a little more to do if they want it. The car's now sent down the front straightaway as we take a peek at the 83 on screen. That's a sister car down in GP2. And it does look like Palomar is going to take another stab at this. That number 38. Maybe take the opportunity to swap drivers out. Let somebody go after it on a very gently used set of Continental tires. We are open tire in the World Racing League up in the Grand Touring classes, but general production, of course, have the single supplier Continental tire across these 25 or so entries we got this weekend. Continental Tire providing support on site as well as one of the official partners of the World Racing League. Everybody I've talked to, or that we've talked to over the last couple of events, in almost complete unison, thrilled with those Continental tires and their fit in the World Racing League. Sizes consistently available, tires are consistently available, the on-site support is excellent, and everybody is able to stretch them all the way across a race distance, a full race distance, with life still in them if they wanted to use them in practice or testing sessions down the road. Just super, super consistent once you get a couple of laps in, and they just ride in that performance window all the way through. Go on board the Edge Autosports number 26, kind of shows the nose on, I believe it's the 9.4 M235, climbing the hill through the S's. Has to breathe out of the throttle as they've got something of a run out of the 90 down at turn number 1. Difficult to make a pass here if you're not able to capitalize on that run out of turn number 1, just because the braking zone on the way into the inner loop is so short there, and indeed the 26 rolls out of the throttle, builds in a bit of space headed through the inner loop. This will not be a representative time as such. The Edge car's been dropped to P4, by the way, after a really good lap from the number 424 Blitzkrieg Racing BMW, who goes into P3 at 2:07.967. Just about 4 tenths off the back of the El Diablo number 48. So maybe that 48 isn't as safe as we thought up on the front row. If there's a little bit more time to come out of that 424 from Blitzkrieg Racing, they have something to say. Mike Anderson says just a driver swap for Palomar. El Diablo is still out there circulating that lap at 2:14.079. So we'll see if what we presume is a driver change in that car as well is likely also to see a renewed effort at qualifying, or whether this is just go get comfortable and turn some laps. Timer says just under 10 minutes remaining in this GP1 and 2 qualifying session. Following around, or briefly following around there, the number 6 from GSD Motorsports. BMW M240IR sporting no rear wing this weekend. Just a little spoiler, a small lip on the trunk of that BMW, which is, yeah, I mean, if you're going to do something like that, this is probably the place. All that aero in these general production classes tends to come with a, or does come with a weight or power penalty. And you take what you can get for that long run from turn 1, pretty much flat out up to the entry to the bus stop here. Now, you do lose a little bit of that back through some of the longer corners. I don't know in third gear if we're making a ton of downforce there that's really going to claw back what you're going to get on the straightaways. And that car down in P16 at the moment in GP1, just off the back of the Bruce Innovations number 555. Similar. No, sorry, that 555 is not the BMW, is it? It's the Ford Mustang. It's K Motorsports just ahead of them, and the number 221 in P14 as well. That BMW there sitting on a 213.570. JT Tammy, hi to Scott Pruitt's family at home. Yes, I am not Scott Pruitt's biggest fan, just as a sports car racing fan. Mostly stemming from not being Chip Ganaxi's biggest fan, and then, you know, everything just kind of falls away from that. But I suppose I'm not alone there. 880 into the pit lane. That'll be a session, I think, for the Cayman, or are they already, they finish up and are headed back out? Let's see what they decide to do here at the end of the pit lane. Nope. It's coming to the attention of the OLJ Racing crew down there at the north end of pit lane, such as it is this weekend. Decent view of the second half of the pit lane from our camera down here at turn number 1. Serve us well tomorrow. Edge Autosports comes back through, does not improve, which is a bit tough because they've lost the spot on the outside of the second row to the PC Racing number 44. 208.496 for PC Racing, 208.556 for Edge Autosports. So less than a tenth of a second split those cars now. And this is the difference between starting on row 2 and starting on row 3. It's been a good session, I think, out of these GP cars. This is the shadows just begin to lengthen around the 3.5 mile layout here at Watkins Glen. I think we're going to have a surprise pole sitter here up in GP1. That Primetime Motorsports number 96. Just a tremendous lap. I do want to make one quick note here. I would be remiss, I think, if we didn't get out of our Friday here at Watkins Glen, and we'll repeat this again tomorrow and probably Sunday as well. When we left Utah, we were expecting a pretty quick turnaround and mostly just trying to power through this brief 3-week stretch in between races where, yeah, everybody's eyes full forward. With bringing the whole WRL traveling circus out east after our initial debut there in the Rockies and running towards our national championship event at COTA to close out what's been a really, really good 2025 season. And unfortunately, just a couple of days ago, news was shared by the World Racing League, and I think initially broken by Brad McCall at Round 3 Racing, of the passing of Todd Williamson of Dyno on the Go. Todd was one of the driving forces of Dyno on the Go, was ever present in the WRL paddock. He was at Utah, as a matter of fact, and despite a couple of observations that maybe he wasn't in the best of health there, he was smiling and excited to be a part of every WRL race as he was, but especially back at Utah, riding around the paddock with his pup, and just being the smiling and cheery presence that Todd was. Dyno on the Go is the official dyno of WRL since its inception, or since the inception of WRL's dyno rules. Todd had a deep and genuine care for each and every one of WRL competitors, and really had a genuine interest in the series. It's been a kind of a weird week. We haven't really dealt with anything quite like this in the WRL paddock in quite some time, and with somebody you're reliably going to see that is really invested in your weekend and your success, and more than anything, just happy to be a part of things. It's sad news. We wish Todd's friends and family well. I know it's a difficult time, and we'll be spending this weekend at Watkins Glen with Todd's memory in our hearts for sure. And we'll talk more about that as we get into racing tomorrow, as we head into the final 3 minutes of qualifying here for GP1 and GP2. Same as it was at the top. Palomar in the number 38 has not really put in the times we were maybe expecting their post-driver change. 2:12.508 last time for the number 38. Maybe a little bit of traffic in there as well. That car, I mean, it's in a fight of cars from Edge Autosports on back that are all within a couple of tenths of each other. Edge Autosports 2:08.5, OLJ 2:08.8, Palomar 2:08.8, Blaze 2:08.9, 9-4 Motorsports at a 2:09 flat. So that's 5 cars within half a second there. Same thing up towards the top. PC Racing, does improve. 2:07.780 puts that 44 ahead of Blitzkrieg Racing now. So those 2 cars on the second row will swap inside to outside. Able to pick up 2 tenths there. Now, PC Racing can find another 2 tenths, which is not the easiest thing here. Really got to dig deep on corner entry and get back to the throttle early. But if they can, it's only another 2 tenths of a second up to that El Diablo Motorsports number 48. Might have another 2 laps left here to do it. Comes across the line. Does not improve that time, a 2:08.436. I think we're in for a heck of a day in GP1 tomorrow, in particular. I think this is what this is really setting up for, is that there's very little to choose between, let's say, positions 2 through 8 at the moment, 2 through 9, I guess. It's a second and a half covering those 8 cars, and in race trim, that's probably going to compress further. Right around that 2:08, 2:09 mark. Then another gaggle of cars in the 2:10 to 2:12 range. You go towards the bottom of the top 10, bottom end of the top 10. Cabrix Racing, the number 145. Open Throttle, number 64. GSD Motorsports, number 6. All in the 210s. Low 211s for both Flying Fur Motorsports in the 946, who's had some really competitive outings over the course of 2025. No Regs Racing, the 157, just a couple of thousandths further back from them. And some cars slightly out of position. The HK number 221 is a car you'd expect to see further up the grid. Maybe a bigger day to come tomorrow for them. Velocity Club Motorsports in the number 41 Honda Civic. Something to say potentially as well there. And the Bruce Innovations 555. Doesn't seem like those lap times are quite representative of what we would otherwise expect. Laguna Tick has gone to the... Oh, is that a car stopped or a camera that's hung up there at top? Okay, no, it's at a stop. All right. Yeah, that is drivers right there at the top. Is that PC Racing? At the 44? It looks as though it might be. If not, it's, I think, one of the, would be the Palomar 38. Didn't have a race control log up earlier during the practice sessions. Let's see if made public now. Watkins Glen Saturday. No, it's ready to go for tomorrow. Interesting. Yeah, I think it's definitely a GP1 car. Anyway, Laguna entry has gone to the top in GP2, 210.866. That is much more like what we expected out of that number 779. Almost, well, more than 3.5 seconds clear. As the checker flag flies here at Watkins Glen, 3+ seconds clear from Laguna Tech back to the Palomar number 83, then AOA Racing number 55 on a 2:16.935 inside of the second row alongside the 65 Open Throttle Racing BMW. Mike Anderson says it is Palomar 38 up there at the top of turn number 4. Bit tough to tell from distance, but Mike would know. Wonder if that's tried to stretch the session too far. On fuel, remember we do have a lot of full throttle time here at Watkins Glen, more than we get anywhere other than just about Daytona, I think. Yeah, not how you'd like to see the session come to a close there for Palomar. GP2 rounded out by the 851 of AOA Racing down in P5. So the checkered flag out. We've just reviewed GP2. We'll quick review GP1 and then turn our attention towards racing action to come tomorrow. GP1, your pole sitter will be the Primetime Motorsports Ford Mustang. 2:05.340 is your pole time in GP1. Just, what is that, about 7 or 8 seconds off of the GTO pole time, which around 3.5 miles on a track that is as fast as this is a really impressive time on a spec tire, mind you, as well. Really impressive pole time there for Primetime Motorsports on that Ford Mustang. They'll start alongside El Diablo Motorsports in the number 48 chartreuse-colored BMW, 2:07.590. Then the lap times really start to compress. PC Racing and Blitzkrieg Racing, 44 and 4:24 on the second row of GP1's grid. That'll be a split start tomorrow as well, so remember they'll get their own green flag about 20 or 30 seconds after the Grand Touring cars go. Edge Autosports, the 26 rounds out the top 5 inside of row number 3. OLJ Racing and the Porsche Cayman, the top Porsche, and the number 880 on the outside of row number 3. Palomar Racing in the number 38 alongside Blaze Racing in the 118. It's a pair of V36s on row number 4. 9-4 Motorsports in the BMW M2 alongside Cabrix Racing, the number 145 will round row number 5 up. Row number 6 will be the Open Throttle Racing number 64. That's Cherry. Alongside GSD Motorsports in the number 6 M240IR. We were just talking about that car earlier. No wing on that car. Let's see what that means over a race distance tomorrow and Sunday. Flying Fur Motorsports in the red number 946. Alongside No Rags Racing in the number 157. The Pride of Fogelsville, Pennsylvania. Rounds out row number 7 there. Number 221, HK Motorsports inside of row number 8 alongside Velocity Club Motorsports in the Honda Civic in P16. Bruce Innovations, 555, and TC Klein Racing in their M240 on row, M235 there on row number 9. And then Open Throttle Racing number 63, Miss Piggy, rounds out the GP1 field. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Time will be our green flag time. We'll be live about 10 minutes prior to that. It'll be myself, Brendan Kazmarek on the call with Ryan West, JT Tammy. Jordan Worth be with us as well on the buttons. Be joined up here in the booth by Layla Kazmarek at World Racing League on Instagram and over on Facebook as well by our guest for the weekend up here as well, Tawny. Hi. And by as many of you as would like to stop by. Throughout our 15 hours of racing action. Certainly pay us a visit here up in the booth. Doors open for interviews, chats, help guide us through 15 hours of racing action around Watkins Glen International as we begin our run to the National Championship in about 6 weeks' time. Still the Eastern region Championship to be wrapped up as well. This weekend kind of acting as a scene setter before we close that series up, or that title fight up in 3 weeks' time at Sebring. So do join us tomorrow morning right here on the World Racing League YouTube channel for 8 hours of nonstop racing action featuring Code 35 as well from the south shore of Seneca Lake, Watkins Glen International. I'll be live 10 minutes prior to that and guide you through all of Saturday's endurance racing action here from the World Racing League and the Glen Continental. Until then, take care.